Welcome back to True Crime Lounge podcast here on Spotify and YouTube. My name is Freezy, and here we cover all types of true crime cases. Um, Today we're going to be continuing on with our four-part mini-series that I am currently loving as we're talking about old Hollywood. For any updates on my channel or podcast, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I also have a merch shop for all your true crime gear, and I also have a Patreon for episodes that you can join for early release to episodes scheduled to come out. Um, I currently would like to jump into part three of our mini series, shall we? And next, so our next mini series, we will be talking about Bob Crane. Yes. All right. Now, with that being said, let's dive into part three, shall we? Isn't that why you clicked on here? So the press had identified the victim, but they were hungry for more, and as Hagen and Eatwell described the reporters, saw extra details by reaching out to Short's mom, Phoebe, and they reported her missing, claiming that she had won a beauty contest. It needed background to help information for their coverage. It was only after Phoebe provided details they saw for that they disclosed the tragic news of her daughter's death. Very sick technique from the journalist, if you ask me. Um, Now the initial nickname that was given to the crime was identified as the werewolf killer. Um, However, the moniker didn't last, and it had been because the werewolf reference lacked epicity and intrigue, or maybe because by then the werewolves have lost their appeal in Hollywood. Till now. Trust me, when Twilight and all that came out, oh my gosh, guys. I still question why I was a big Twilight fan. There was so much things wrong with that. Anyway, um, anyway, with the Wolfman being overshadowed by another iconic monsters movies like The House of Frankenstein and The House of Dracula, my all-time favorites. But one reporter got wind of the nickname Short had allegedly picked it up in Long Beach. According to her biography, the victim was known upon acquaintances as the Black Dahlia, a nod to her taste in black dresses and previous year's crime film, The Blue Dahlia. But the film Nobody Meets the Gruesome End that Elizabeth Short suffered, and such graphic depictions would be passed by censorship rules in the Hays Code, a set of moral guidelines that was acceptable in American movies, and it's doubtful that the studio's personnel would have tolerated it either. The most notable connection between Short and the Blue Dahlia is the shared life parallels of the film's leading lady, Veronica Lake. Both women were born on the East Coast, moved to Florida, making a pivotal move to Hollywood, and weirdly both had lived with the last name Toft. Lake was briefly married to director Andre D. Toft, and Short was roomed with Ann Toft, who would later become an important witness in the investigation of her death. Both Short and Lake were turned into sex symbols by many of the LA. Lake, however, dismissed the tag assigned to the Hollywood media, preferring to characterize herself as more of a sex zombie. Okay. Short naturally wasn't able to challenge the labels the press gave her. After her murder, the story cut from depicting her as a naive dreamer in Hollywood as a portrayal of a fast girl with loose morals. She was someone who was seen around town, potentially a prostitute, in tantalizing twist of the 1940s media. There was even a suggestion that she might have been a lesbian, despite a theory claiming that Short was killed as part of a lesbian love triangle and was disproven in front of the LA county grand jury. This didn't prevent the newspapers from sensationalizing the idea and exploiting the fears surrounding homosexuality at the time. So, how did the police hunt for the Black Dahlia's killer? Well, the press and the police meticulously analyzed every detail of Short's life. They initially interrogated Robert Red Manley, a married man who had an affair with Short, and who was the last known person to see her dropped off at the Biltmore Hotel on January 9th. Wow. His alibi, and Manley was exonerated for any suspicions. His affair with Short made headlines and folder in every LA newspaper. Evidence concerning the murder strewn across the table in the LADA's office in 1947. Then came a moment in the Hollywood picture would have all been an Act Two breakthrough if the whole that brought the case wide open. Um, as I said earlier, they bought her birth certificate and all that which was supposedly sent by the killer, and it had very good signs, but it was never proven because there was a lot of the fingerprints were like is there has been touched way too much. But in real life, in LA, didn't work like movies. Um, they tracked down approximately 75 men from the book, most of them with whom was briefly met with its owner, as well as Hansen, a successful nightclub owner. In 1949, a scandal involving Kurt's confession sparked outrage and possibly led to the diminished intensity of a once unyielding hunt for the murder. But doesn't mean they aren't prominent suspects. So, who killed the Black Dahlia? Well, at the length of the Black Dahlia investigation, police considered a myriad of suspects, and the amateur sleuths have not continued to delve into LAPD's records and the police archives seeking new insights. However, these independent investigations will lead to give rise to far-fetched theories attempting to rave every unconventional notion into a tidy conclusive package. Could evidence solve the baby mystery? Well, in the whirlwind of investigative journalism, Mark in this journalism books and podcasts named that they were once prominently newspapers, such as Hanson and Leslie Dillon, and now could be company with or sometimes implicated alongside newer suspects. Amateur sleuths have taken a keen interest in Dr. Patrick S. O'Reilly, a surgeon and acquaintance of Hanson, who appeared in 1951 list of suspects. They also have been probably they have been probing deeper into his background and information, discovering that not only did O'Reilly allegedly beat his secretary nearly to death for no other reason than to satisfy his sexual desires without intercourse. Um, yeah, that's sick. But there was no statistics ever existed before 1924. Here's the thing. There was like before 1924, there was no evidence that this doctor existed. So, but in the Black Dahlia files, um, this literally like presented a theory that involved L.A. Times publisher Norman Chandler and the infamous mobster Bugsy Siegel. Given the Black Dahlia's murder's Hollywood backdrop, some people have speculated that the killer might have been a celebrity, Mary Pacios, who grew up with Elizabeth Short. She believed the actor and the filmmaker Orson Welles was responsible, suggesting that he had a dysplastic hit personality and could lead to many violent acts, including that Welles concealed clues about the crimes from his movie The Lady from Shanghai. Folk singer Woody Guthrie was also questioned in the Black Dahlia's murder investigation due to obscene sexual letters, and that he had been mailing to other women in mental health episodes, according to Black Dahlia Red Rose. The Black Dahlia files noted the LAPD questioned comic actor off the lake who starred inside the Blondie film regarding both the Black Dahlia and the 1941 killing of Oral heiress Georgette brought up in the LA apartment, her LA apartment. It was theorized that Lake might have known both women through the Hollywood Canteen and the Club for Servicemen for Hollywood celebrities. However, whether it was LAPD at the time and authored the Black Dahlia files, it was also discrepancy in the timeline of the Hollywood Canteen that closed. Um, that Short didn't arrive in LA until July 1946. Now, the most prominent suspect of the Black Dahlia murder is Dr. George Hodel, and this is largely impromptu to books, podcasts, and television series, implicated by his own son, the former LAPD detective Steve Hodel, in the book of the Black Dahlia Avenger. In the true story, George Hodel was a Hollywood actor with prominent dreams of becoming a director, John Huston, and artist Man Ray. Hodel became a suspect in the Black Dahlia investigation in 1949 after he stood trial for sexually assaulting his own daughter. And the doctor found out that the LAPD had even taken the steps to placing the rat trap in his home. In the transcripts of these recordings of Hodel saying, "Supposing I did kill the Black Dahlia, they can't prove it now.